Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vridavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pulla Ravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamrutatuhe Namaha Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapada Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyana Vastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidusura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Sarvadharman parityajya Mamekam sharanam vraja Aham tva sarva papebhyah Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So we are almost towards the end of the 7th chapter, and just maybe one more lecture to go here. And as always, this chapter every chapter has its own great reflective exercises for us. But in here, I think in the 7th chapter, really the question is, I'm just going to put it out there. Is there really God? Is there really God? That is the question for us, because this topic and this aspect of God sometimes can be a huge mystery, but the same mystery can be completely revealing when we really understand our nature and how are we part of this huge ecosystem. I'm using all modern terminologies here, ecosystem here. And in this ecosystem, what is my connection between me, this whole ecosystem that I'm part of, and is there really something beyond that, right? So these are the kind of questions that comes to our mind as we work through in this world. So how do you define for yourself of this question, is there God? Any thoughts on this? I know it's late in the day to think about a topic like this, but it doesn't matter whether it's late in the day or in the beginning of the day. We don't have to necessarily look at God as how a religious aspect, as a friend, as somebody who I can be comfortable with. So that's why we're talking about this topic. It's supposed to be a very comfortable topic, something you can talk to your children and grandchildren, what do you think, kind of thing.
From Hari Om, from a BMI point of view, when we are happy, and when we see everything is going our way, when everything then we are kind of like, we take things for granted. But when things are not going our way, this is all BMI point of view. Not, I'm not going anywhere beyond that. From the BMI point of view, and when things are not going our way, or something, we are thrown off of our game, we are thrown off of our that moment shakes us. Oh, and that moment we are looking for God and everything.
Right.
I mean, throughout, I mean, without wavering, without being, without any emotion, no vasana, without our sense organs, without all of them always enveloping our way of thinking. If we were to spend moments like that, then we can see God everywhere. But unfortunately, from the BMI point of view, we don't always do that.
Very good. So basically, you touched upon some of the beautiful aspects. Meenu wanted to say something too.
Yeah, when we started as a kid, we used to think God is only in temple or somewhere
Right.
there. But later, slowly, we realized that He's everywhere, and we are also like joined together. Each and every one of us, like, how you make a mala of different flower, we make it different colors, but we are all, everyone, including plants, animals, we are together in true. If one is unhappy, we all will be unhappy. If one is happy,
Right.
we should all be happy. So
Very good.
that changed during the years.
Right.
After.
So,
Sunitha.
God,
Yeah, I like, God aspect, until we got little bit of this Balavihar and Chinmaya mission knowledge, we were thinking like there is something higher than where we can surrender when we give up. I mean, we try to do ourselves like most of the things. When it is like out of our reach, we cannot do it, we surrender to something higher. That much we know. So after listening to the Bhagavad Gita and all, we know a little bit of all pervading. It is a big energy. And we put into the ideology like, Rama, Krishna, whatever you want, something we are trying to understand now. But there is something higher than, that's what I think with God.
Yeah, very good. Very good. You all echoed different ways in which we look at this phenomenon called God, and all the things that you said are very valid. I think Suvarna pointed out about how we recognize God only when we are in distress. And Meenu pointed out how we are all connected together. And Madhuri, you pointed out about how there's a higher power. So that again goes back to how I started off with saying that, in this whole ecosystem that we are part of in this world, God is everywhere. God is all pervading. And that's why the 7th chapter is beautiful, because it exposes us to the concept of God, and also God expressing himself, herself, however we want to look at it, in the form of Maya. And the caution that we see in this chapter is, even as this all-pervading nature of God is given to us through Maya, but we as human beings, we have the ability to distinguish between that glamour of Maya and what is the essence of Maya, and that is the Paraprakriti and the Aparaprakriti concept here in 7th chapter. We are unfortunately totally deluded by the Aparaprakriti. And Aparaprakriti is everything that I see, I hear, all through the 5 senses. That is Aparaprakriti, right? And that Aparaprakriti is beautiful, it's glamorous. When I say beautiful and glamorous, immediately we think only of something, which is shiny and all that, but actually not. everything that I'm experiencing right now through my 5 sense organs is actually Maya, that experience that I go through. And what I do not experience, and these words in English, it's really hard to use them in the proper way. But unfortunately, or thanks to the British guys who we really now are wondering why this English language is given to us when we could be speaking in Sanskrit. Maybe when we speak in Sanskrit, these words will be different. But going back is when we experience something and we get some juice out of that experience, whatever it is. It can be the food part of it, it can be our relationships, everything, whatever that we get out of it, and we get, we say this is good, this is bad, all that is Maya. And as a human being, we have that intellect, part of the BMI that Suvarna was saying. That intellect can really help us in and through every experience that I'm going through to recognize that it's only an experience, it's like we got to tell ourselves, chill out, man. That's only an experience. Don't get so bothered by it. Don't get so hung up about it. But we are so habituated that we do get hung up in the sense, hung up in good way and hung up in the bad way also. When everything is going good, we really enjoy it. When everything is not so going good, we get upset about it. And that whole thing constitutes a world of experience. And I'm unable to see at the end of the day that I'm part of it. And this God that we talk about is none other than me, myself. I, who am part of this whole universe, all of you who are in the screen who are part of this universe, we all are that God. So that's the whole aspect which in 7th chapter we see that beautifully. And this other question, of course, I put up here, why do we go to God? What are the reasons? I think you already explained it, which is we go there when we are unable, as Madhuri said, we recognize that higher power. When I know that I cannot achieve by my own self, then I pray to that higher power. And in the 7th chapter, we saw some of the shlokas where that God is so benevolent, is so compassionate. He says, no, yo yam madhu bhaktaha, whoever comes to me with complete shraddha, with complete faith, I give them whatever they want. That also is given so beautifully. But then again, he cautions us in all this to say that, that famous example, a famous saying in English, which is, be careful what you ask for. You may just get it, That's the expression that we hear this, but the deeper meaning of be careful what you wish for, you may just get it, is what Shankaracharya in his Bhashya, and we will be going through all that. I'm just giving you the synopsis of the whole thing here. Shankaracharya in his Bhashya centuries ago has already said that the same expression where he says, Krishna is saying, I can give you so much more. I can give you the palace of heaven, that absolute ananda, I can give it to you. But you are looking for such small things that alpa medasam. He says, you people, I mean, he's which we shouldn't take it in a totally, we shouldn't feel bad about it. We shouldn't feel depressed. But he says, you people are such people of such limited intelligence. You're not exercising your intelligence to move forward in life. You can actually get the whole palace of heaven, which is the whole happiness. But you don't want that. You want only the small things, which you can just enjoy, leave it up, and then keep going for something else, give it up, again, go for something else. Constantly, that is how our life is, where we are going to all this. So in this chapter, again,
why is it happening? Why, in spite of knowing all this, why are we still for alpa things we are looking for?
That is exactly the questions that, Krishna is also putting it up here. And the shlokas of that what we're coming to in 26 to 28 is really addressing that part of it. And I have a very beautiful story to answer that same question. So we'll come to that question, Geeta. I don't want to give up the answer right now. Why are we going towards it? So this is this shloka actually is the shloka where we say that, for this alpa things, we're going to the gods. Okay. And so Krishna is also very, like I said, compassionate. He's saying, I have manufactured all these gods for you, he says. And I can only use this language in this kind of a session in Bhagavad Gita, because it is meant for people who are little thinkers. So he says, I can give you, so these desires, I have manufactured these gods, and all you have to do is follow a certain niyama for that particular god, and that god will give you whatever you want. That's what he's saying here. But he says that why are we doing this? Because there is that delusion in us. Delusion because we are constantly thinking that this will give me happiness, that will give me happiness. That is why we are going there. So then, when will I really evolve from the stage? And that's why in Shloka 21, he says, you will be evolving from that stage only when you develop this quality called faith. So that is what yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya. So the word shraddha is the important thing here, which is he's saying develop the shraddha, aham achalam vidadhami, develop that strong faith. So this is a very important aspect. So here, if you look at it in this shloka, he's trying to say today why you're not able to even focus on God is because even in small things, we don't focus our attention. Like, for example, if I, and again, I'm just using these as examples. In US, we have a choice of careers I can take, So sometimes, like even the 11th grade, when I used to teach Balavihar, I used to ask the children, so what are you planning to do? What is your career option, anything? Someone or two will say, I really don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to do, which is not a bad thing, which is a good thing only because you have to be clear as you're going forward, right? And the choices are so many that sometimes we get confused. And when the choices are many, our faith doesn't develop. We don't develop the strong zeal, So that is why he says, develop the faith first. Use the faith in one direction, focus on it, and that particular God will give you what you want. But we don't do that. We go to many gods, we go to many temples, and we lose that energy within us. So therefore he says, after you develop that faith and you engage in this one, you obtain whatever which was meant for you. Okay. So mayeva vihitan hitan, mayeva vihitan, that being ordained by me. That is the word. So this is where I was saying that, if you develop the faith, that faith can give you a lot of opportunities to succeed. That opportunity will give a direction. And once the direction is there, that will lead to a fulfilling life of whatever you want. But this is where last time I focused a little bit to say that this mayeva vihitan hitan, he says that, and I wanted to break this up, he says, in Shankaracharya in his Bhashya, he brings this two different things. Hitan, he says, is hitan iti padacheda, to break up this word. He says that instead of saying hitan, here you see hitan, he says, basically, if you combine those two words, then the hitan means it's an adjective to kaman. He says, it is not two separate words. Let's look at it as a combined word. So when we say it is combined, then it means that whatever I'm doing is actually the good for you. So Krishna is saying that once you really focus your attention to get what you want, that is really good for you, and that is really good for your well-being. Hitan, Hitan, that's what I'm saying here. So now, but on one hand, it is good for you, but then Shankaracharya also cautions that whatever is good for you in the short term is not really good for you for a long term, because that can be a bondage. It can be a bondage, and it can really hold you so strong that you will not get out of samsara. Okay. And for that, there's a beautiful in Kathopanishad, this Shobhavo Martyasya Yadanta Kaitata Sarvendriyanam Jarayanti Teja. So Nachiketa, for example, the small boy, when he goes to Yamaraja, Yama actually promises, he says, ask me anything you want, I'll give you, because you have taken the time and effort to come all the way to see me. And for 2 days, you have fasted, because Yama had actually other duties to do. He had to bring a lot of people. So Nachiketa was sitting very patiently and waiting for him. So, and Yama says, I can give you anything you want. So here, Taveva Nritya Gita, he says, I'll give you horses, I'll give you chariots, I'll give you all kinds of pleasures, everything. But then Nachiketa says, no, I don't want anything. Just tell me what is that absolute knowledge. That's what he wants, So that's why in the shloka, when he says, Shankaracharya, he says, on one hand, I'm going to give you things, whatever you want, which will help you. But on the other hand, I want to also tell you that at the end of the day, anything which is what you desire is not good for you, So ask for, and that's just the example of Nachiketa I wanted to give you. And then we saw this example last time about how anything we desire at the end of the day will lead us to bondage. And the story where this couple is in bondage for 10 years, working hard towards fulfilling a fake reality. It was a fake necklace for which they worked for 10 years. And that's how it is. So that's why the shlokas 23 is to show that everything that what we're looking for in the world ultimately has some pain associated with it. And the second thing is, anything and everything we trying to achieve in this world, everything is only a finite pleasure. Whereas we have to look for infinite pleasure, and ultimately it creates slavery, bondage. Yeah, Geeta? Any question? Okay. So that's why he's saying, in this shloka 23, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavatyalpa medasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. I always make this mistake of reading the English one, then my mind doesn't work. So reading Sanskrit is so much more, I should focus on the Sanskrit part of it. So that's why he's saying finite is a fruit of people of little intelligence. So, and he says the worshippers of devas go to them, but my devotees come to me. So again, trying to show that, yes, we build a lot of big temples and everything. And those temples are actually meant for us to focus our attention so that I can evolve to the higher stage. But then most people go to the temples only to beg for something for their life in this world. That is not to say it's not that we should not do it. Of course, we have to do it if there is there is some difficulty I'm going to go through. I do have to go to the Devata to take care of that misery of me, but I need to evolve. And that is, again, this Shankaracharya shloka that we saw last time about how Shankaracharya is saying that the amount of effort that is gone towards somebody who is already fulfilled with everything, somebody who's fulfilled, then we have to go to the gods for something higher instead of going for the same thing over and over again. And that's why this example last time I gave, where this boy goes over and over again for the same laddu. And Shankaracharya is saying that instead of asking for that same laddu, that same effort that you're doing, ask for something higher. If you go for something higher, you will just get it. But we are the people who are not asking for something higher. So that's why I talked about this example last time. And this shloka from the previous thing was to say that at the end of the day, this knowledge that Bhagavad Gita we are going through, even a little bit, swalpamapsya dharmasya, even little bit, trayate mahato bhayat. It can take care of such a big problem for all of us. To that extent, this knowledge is so beautiful. So we have to definitely understand what is our intent behind worship of the deities at the end of the day. It is always this desire, desire, desire. It is acting as a nook on our neck, which forces us to be in the samsara, which is really driven by that Maya. But then I have to keep on developing. I have to push myself to going to higher and higher, which is non-desire, because only when that non-desire is taken care of, that is pure love. Like in I Love You letters, Swami Chimyananda, he writes to the children, if you take back that book of I Love You letters, the third or fourth itself letter, he talks about how there are two kinds of love. One is Shreyas and one is Preyas, So one is a conditional love. I go to God saying that, what, I will do this for you and you do this for me. That is conditional love, I break all this coconut and all that for you. Now you better do your job in helping me. That is one kind of, it's called conditional love. The other one is Shreyas, which is much higher. I do it only because I just love you, And we have talked about this beautiful story before about the small boy who goes to the forest and, he just calls out for Krishna and as a friend. And he just enjoys his time with Krishna. But then when he goes and tells his teacher, the teacher laughs and he says, how can there be somebody like Krishna? Show me. And when the teacher comes to the forest, he's not able to see Krishna because in his mind, he didn't have the right attitude of who this God is. Whereas the small boy knew that. So that's how it is. So God is just pure love. And I need to cultivate that aspect of love to go to that level. So now we come to the shlokas of 24 to 28, where Gita's question really is. So Gita, can you just tell me what the question again is? Because I want to make sure that...
No, why are we still sticking to we know that there is something higher, but still we ask for the lower things. Why is it happening?
Correct. Because why we are doing this is again, any thoughts from others? Why do you think we are still, in spite of the fact that we know that God is pure love, we know this one, why are we still going towards the lower things?
I think it's become a habit for us because for so many janmas, it's the vasana is like stuck to us. It's hard for us to detach with that vasana, that Maya still looks so real. So we are happy getting the temporary things and forget about the permanent.
Yeah, but that's absolutely true. Can we give a kind of an example on this one from our own life on how we have become habituated to something?
Morning tea, coffee.
Morning tea, coffee, okay. That is true. But even something even more deeper, what do you think? when I say deeper is, I can only look at it not just from a physical point of view, which is what the example you just gave with the morning tea and everything, but deeper from the affection that I crave from my loved ones. You know, and you're all grandparents almost. I can easily use this terminology, which is, I love my children. I've given so much love for them. I've done so much for them and everything. Now they have grown, right? They have started their own families, and they have their own children and all that. Now, to some extent, there is a little bit of their expectation. Now, as much as I may say that, no, I really don't expect anything from my child. I'm really okay with it. I'm done. I'm okay. I'm sitting here. But, let's be honest here. Once in a while, the thought does come, you know what? I wish my son had called me today. Or I wish, this had happened, they could have done this little bit. After all, I did so much for them. Am I not, so that's what I'm saying. So that is the expectations. To answer your question, why is it, I'm taking what Meenu said, from Janmas, that thing is there. Let's not even worry about Janmas. In this world itself, that small amount of expectations for that finite gain. This is what we mean. It's a finite thing. Today, I will think that I want this. But tomorrow, day after tomorrow, will I really think about it? Not really. Something else will come into my mind. Right? But that is also a habit. I have become habituated to always expect something for myself.
And we call it a wants.
It
Or
is a
desire.
want.
Or desire.
No, we make it as a need, it is nice to have, but I make it as I must have this, And I'm telling you, Geeta, as we grow older, that our intellect doesn't function that much, Intellectually, we can never try to satisfy that aspect of it. So mentally, we succumb to our mental pressures of this wanting or craving for this aspect of it. And if we don't, with this knowledge is really the medicine for that. If I don't work on that aspect of understanding that whatever I'm asking for is very finite, and it is temporary, it is fleeting, and that it will go away. If I don't put that mantra into my head, that is why these three things are really the mantras. Where did I have that? Three things. To constantly remember myself that anything and everything I'm trying to, there will be some pain associated with that. Anything and everything, even this love of my own children, for example, is very finite. And the last one is that it does create an attachment. Slavery means attachment. Slavery is a strong word, but it is an attachment. I need to constantly work on this part of it, because at the end of the day, if I can look at the same object of my affection as pure love, and that is where he's coming back to, is pure love should be the ultimate thing. Absolutely no expectations, totally unconditional. So
can all this bondage be caused due to vasanas? In spite of the knowledge which we are acquiring, we are still doing it. Means, is it because of vasanas?
It is vasanas, but it is also this delusion. Vasana is the root cause of it. The whole combination of it, through its various gunas, is this Maya power. So
Harvom.
Yeah, go ahead, Anand.
Yeah, so we forget what we are. So that's the main cause for all
Yes,
this.
correct. We forget who we are, mainly because of this cloud which is covering it. isn't it?
And our mind is also not that pure. We haven't
Correct.
purified.
Exactly.
It's like a utensil. If it's not pure and you put milk in it, it'll curdle. It won't boil. So that's how once you have pure mind, it'll be easier for us to.
That's right. Exactly. So that's why, in this next few shlokas, what should people like us, who have now some exposure to this knowledge, how do I behave in this world? Is to use that mantra of the three things, to recognize that all these things that I'm experiencing in the world will have some amount of pain in it. And they will not give me the security that I'm looking for, even the money, right? The Wall Street crashes, which you see, they will never give me, the money is not going to give me happiness. The house that I own is not going to give me happiness. So slowly and slowly, I have to withdraw my mind from that, at least for a short while, every day, give myself that reflection to say, this is not going to give me happiness. That is not going to give me happiness. So what is really going to give me happiness? Slowly, I think that, okay, the time that I spend for myself, that is what is going to give me happiness. And so when I keep on going, thinking, just starting off with just sitting down and going through these questions in my mind, to list all the things that is giving me happiness today, then asking for all those things that are giving me happiness, I ask these three questions. Will this give me pain in the future? Do I recognize this particular thing which is giving me happiness? Will this give me sort of pain in the future? Will it give me permanent happiness? And am I becoming a slave to it? So when I keep asking those questions, and slowly, I will shift my attention to something which is going to give me a little more permanent happiness. So as an example, there's only an example I'm saying. And again, it depends upon each one of us at what level we are seeking the happiness. For somebody, for example, who has lots of friends, who loves social life, even for such a person, the person has to ask, are all these friends going to be with me? Say, and of course, if it's in Western way of looking at it, they'll say, will they all show up at my funeral? Are these people, when I die, will they say that what a great person this was or anything? Then if that question is no, not really, then I have to ask myself, okay, how many of these friends are worthwhile? So I slowly start shrinking the number of people who are really valuable for me. At the next level, what I do is, after I bring this level, I go to even further and say, even these people, will they be there when I really need the help? I'm using very, very materialistic terms here. And slowly, then I come to my own family. And then question, even will my family be there? Then I slowly realize that ultimately I myself am responsible for myself, And at that point in time, also, I slowly start to see my own body, how much is my own body going to help me? And then I recognize the fleeting nature of my own body, all my body parts are going to slowly wither away. Finally, who is this? Who am I? Like Anant was asking, then who really am I? Only then I will really start to, think about this. So that's the whole idea, where this chapter also has helped us to understand, who am I? What is my relation to the ecosystem? And that is where these shlokas of really understanding who that God is, and that same God expressing in the form of Maya, is what, is showing that the ultimate Supreme Lord is infinite, but Maya is finite. So going back to Gita's question, why am I still here? Why am I not evolving? Is because I am somehow seeking that Lord. However, I'm seeking that Lord in the form of Maya. As an example, last time also, when I say Maya, I'm seeking that Lord in the form of all the finite pleasures that this world is all about. That is Maya. Maya is finite. That Lord is infinite. That's the way to remember. So infinite peace, infinite happiness is really what I'm looking for. However, this Maya is telling me that just take this. This is enough for you, and I'm succumbing to that part of it. So that's why we are really trapped, So it's almost like that mirror is there. Well, mirror in this example may not be the right one, but basically the idea is my mind is just very much attracted to all the attractive part of what God is. But God, in his or her essence, is not the attractiveness. Anything which is appealing to my five sense organs is temporary, is not that infinite God. So that's the thing. So, yeah, go ahead, Anand.
Is it same as Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya?
Yeah, it is the same. Brahma Satya. So ultimately, that Paramatma is the real thing, or is the ultimate truth. But we are looking for the truth in this Jagat Mithya. So Mithya is the false illusion, right? The delusion or illusion that this whole world is. I'm looking for it there. So that's what he said, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jagat Mithya. Jagat Mithya is this whole Jagat, this whole world is unreal. Mithya means unreal. So in this next shloka, he says, Avyaktam Vyakti Mapannam Manyante Mam Mabuddhayaha Param Bhavam Majanantaha Mamavya Mama Avya Ana Uttamam Mamavya Manumuttamam Mama Avyayam Anuttamam, So here, again, when I read this English, I get derailed. So the point about it here is, Geeta, to your question, Avyaktam Vyaktim Apanam. So even though this God is right there, but he is unmanifest. Unmanifest in the sense he's a pure stuff. Like, for example, when I drink the juice, I get so attracted by the color, especially this orange Fanta and all that, which we get here. The sugar in it, oh my God, it's so much amount of sugar. You say this juice is so good. It's all, because of the sugar and the orange thing and all that, right? We forget that 99% of that whole thing is nothing but water. I get attracted to the orange and the sugar, right? So that's what he's trying to say. We get so attracted to all this color and the taste and everything. And I don't think that it is actually nothing but water. So though unmanifest, so Brahman is totally that, imagine that water, but water with that Maya of sugar and orange. I think that is what is the whole world. And if you take this example to everything what we do, that's exactly it. So Param Bhavam Ajanantaha, they don't know my higher nature, which is actually incomparable, Anuttamam, and it is imperishable, Avyayam. Very important words. We are going for perishable things all the time, And the interesting thing, look at the irony of this whole thing, We want the perishable things to be imperishable. Simple example, we are building refrigerators. We are building refrigerators to be even more better and better and better refrigerators to keep the food which is meant to perish. I mean, this Thanksgiving turkey is a great example, people have the turkey and they keep it for a whole year. They cut it into pieces and keep it in the refrigerator for a whole year until the next year. And just a simple joke on this one, I remember, I just remembered this. There was this parrot which would always say, every time this guy had this pet as a parrot, and whenever he would talk to the parrot would always be negative. Everything used to be so negative that one day this guy got so mad. He said, you know what? He just put that parrot into the refrigerator, okay? Into the freezer, actually. And as soon as he put the parrot said, please, let me out. I'll be a good boy. I'll be a good thing. I won't say anything. So he takes him out and then he says, what made you change? He said, what did you do to the turkey which is sitting there in the freezer, So basically, the parrot went into the freezer and he saw the turkey cut up everything, right? He saw pieces of the turkey and he thought he's going to become like that. So he wanted himself to be. Anyway, it's just a joke which I suddenly remembered about how we are trying to just bringing back to the subject. What is perishable, we try to make it imperishable, and we're trying to get more and more happiness from a perishable object. But what God is saying is, here I'm absolutely imperishable. Why are you not coming to me for that happiness? Again, this example, what I'm trying to say, that doesn't mean that we should be without food and water and everything, We do need the food and the water for the vehicle. Just like how when I'm driving a car, I cannot say, I mean, of course, now you have electric cars, which doesn't need fuel, but even electric car needs electricity to keep it going. So I need the vehicle, which is my body, to keep me going. But I have to be worried about, we have to do this. So as Minu said, we are used to a certain way of thinking, habituated, and that has become a habit that only these things will give me happiness and peace. From the time I wake up to the time I do, my thing is always spent only on this. So I need to literally focus my attention on what is not perishable and look for those imperishable things which will give me happiness. So in Shloka 25 is a very beautiful thing where he talks about that I'm not manifest, na aham prakashasya sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha. So for people who do not seek my imperishable nature, I am not available for them. Prakashasya meaning I'm not manifest, I'm not available for them. Okay. It's because this deluded world knows me not as the unborn and imperishable. Because all the people who are living in this world, they're not looking for me. Okay. That is why I'm just not available for them. It's like this. Imagine if you're going to, the museum in France, the Louvre Museum or something, and you see all these huge paintings. But if on top of the painting, they put a big curtain or a veil, would you even see that painting, right? So that is how this whole world, imagine this entire universe, which is like covered with a blanket, So in some sense, Krishna is saying that, guess what? I don't blame you completely because I have covered it with this veil, and so you're not able to see me. But I have also given you the power of discrimination where you can remove the veil and see me. Unfortunately, you're getting caught up by the veil and you're thinking that is who I am, and therefore I'm not available for you. I'm veiled by this divine Maya. So the thing, what is Maya? You can think about it as literally, imagine this is Brahman, this is pure, like just like you have the white light. When you pass it through this prism, right, it breaks into all these colors, right? This is how we look at it. So Maya is essentially, this prism is our mind. Okay. Our mind is basically has taken this white light. Our mind has distorted this aspect of Brahman, which is everywhere, into this glamorous colors. Okay. So this prism is like a mind. This is Brahman here. And that Brahman is basically, it's our own mind, which has actually created this distortion. And we are looking at the world only as the whole colors. Okay. So it's a conditioning. It's basically conditioning by which this Brahman has been distorted. And so Maya, in this case, it resembles this, basically is this prism through which this Brahman light gets split up. Okay. So he calls this as Yoga Maya because it is really, it's a delusion, and it is something which is our own thought. It's our thought or sankalpa, which is also a product of Maya, and and this Maya has got basically Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And of course, in chapter 14 and everything, we'll be talking more about Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. But because of this Yoga Maya, it goes back again to Gita's question, why am I still stuck in this world? It's on one hand, Gita, you can blame it on Krishna because Krishna has just created this veil. And because of the veil, we are all where we are. But I cannot be tamasic in saying that, oh yeah, it is your problem, Krishna. You are the one who did it for me. No, he's also said, no, I've given you the buddhi. So that is why only some people can actually pierce through the veil and see me, And this is where last time also I said this. Ultimately, our mind, unfortunately, it's again a habit. We use these two elements, this time and space, by which we work in this world, and we try to make sense out of the whole thing. So if we ourselves cannot then pierce through Maya, how can Ishvara help us? That's the question, So Maya is the one which is doing all this. So in Shloka 26, he's saying that Vedaham samatitani, Vedaham samatitani, Vartamanani charjuna, Vartamanani charjuna, Bhavishyani cha bhutani, Bhavishyani cha bhutani, Mam tu vedana kaschana, Mam tu vedana kaschana. So he says, ultimately, just come to me because I'm the one, speaking of time, right? As much as time and space is part of Maya, he says, ultimately, I'm the one who knows everything. I know the beings of the past, Vedaham samatitani of the past, and then Vartamanani, some people who are going to, who are of the present, Bhavishyani is of the future. But ultimately, nobody knows me. So there is trying to say that, from the Brahman's point of view, there is really no question of time, because time is past, present, and future, and that is part of Maya. But ultimately, there is no such thing as time. There's no such thing as time as far as Brahman is concerned. So another thing to point out here is when he says Veda aham, I know. So this is a little different from how we can interpret this word knowing, So whenever I say, no, oh yeah, I know her, I know him, that part of it, that is literally from a point of Maya. what we are saying. But here, the word knowing is actually an inherent aspect of Brahman itself. So that is the absolute kind of knowing is what he's trying to point out here, and not the aspect of knowing as we know as part of Maya. Okay. And when he says na kaschana, what is he trying to say here? He's saying that, ultimately no one, meaning that as long as you're part of this Maya, nobody can ever know me. You have to be out of Maya in order to really know me. So Maya, and he says, ultimately, only those people who have really understood what is Maya and charms of Maya can really understand me. So the bottom line of the shloka, what he's trying to show is that at the end of the day, don't get attracted to this Maya for the happiness, what you're looking for. The ultimate happiness is really within you, and one needs to really understand that this kingdom of heaven of Ananda is really you yourself, and you can only get to that when you understand, when you really study the Shastras, and through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, you can actually get there. So that is what he's trying to say in the shloka, Vedaham Samatitani. Ultimately, I am the one who really knows everything, and try to come to that aspect because I am that absolute knowledge. And to understand the knowledge, the only way you can get through is through the Shastras. So I really wanted to finish this, but I know it's already 7 o'clock. I thought I would finish. I wanted to, I'll start next week. There's just a beautiful story on to understand this Maya, but we'll do it next week about how do we recognize this Maya and how do we get out of Maya. I really thought we would do 26 to 28. I don't know how. I think I kind of got derailed myself today. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.